Hey, welcome to Fork in the Road. My name is Rusty Gaylord. I'm your host, and I normally have a wonderful interview teed up with you with a trailblazer, interesting business leader who's doing great things in the world, sharing their fork in the road, a little bit of their history, as well as leadership lessons that they've taken from it. Unfortunately, that is not happening today. And so instead, what I wanted to share with you is just a brief thought, just in the spirit of some consistency here and showing up every week. I wanted to share with you a little bit about what gets in your way of success. And paradoxically, I believe what it is for most people, it's their ambition and their drive, and in some cases, their passion. Because when you're ambitious, when you've got drive, when you've got passion, you bring your best. You care a lot and you invest a lot of yourself in what it is that you're doing. Now, this was great for most of your life, right? When you were in school, that's what enabled you to be very successful. You got A's in school because you were working hard, you were ambitious and driven to get there. You get your first job, and that same thing applies. And that is a huge strength because you do great work. But at some point, you fall into what I call the A trap. That same drive and work ethic that earned you an A in school and made you an A player in your job becomes a trap because you are doing more and more work, and you've got a very high quality standard because you want to deliver the best work. And what happens to people who do the best work? They get more to do, right? I mean, there's even a phrase about that. If you want to get something done, you give it to the busiest person. And that is oftentimes you. You're, one of the most ambitious, one of the most driven, one of the smartest, one of the most successful people around. You get more and more to do. And what happens is you get burdened. At some point, you're carrying more work than you can do effectively, and it slows you down. I mean, just think about I love being outdoors. So think about the backpack analogy, right? When you start out, you got a light pack and you're making a lot of progress because you're fit and you're strong and you're driven. But the more and more weight you're carrying, the slower you get. And that's what happens to people at work. And as long as you hold that mentality that your key to success is the work that you're doing, the quality of work that you're delivering, and the quantity of work that you're delivering, you are going to be carrying a bigger and bigger pack, and you're going to get slower and slower and slower. And at some point, you're not going to be able to keep up with other people. This is a huge mindset shift for people who have been successful by working hard, by delivering great work, by being driven, by being ambitious. It's something you have to unlearn. And in fact, unlearning some of those strengths is the key for you to be able to move to the next level. And this is different from that most people think. Most people think they have to go learn something new. They'll be reading books, they'll go to classes, they'll get a, executive MBA, something like that, because they think they have to add to what they've already got in order to be successful. But you don't need to add anything. In a way, that's putting more stuff in your backpack. You've got to take some stuff out of the pack so you can move forward and progress. So how do you actually do that? I'm going to give you one simple tool that you can apply today, that you can apply in your day today and for the week to start doing something differently. And start with this one question. If you had an hour in your day, just an extra hour in your day, to do something that's going to help you advance the most, that's going to help you create the most success, that's going to really move the needle, that's going to be noticeable, what is that? What would you do? Now, if the first thought that comes to mind is, oh man, I got to catch up on my email, and I've got those 6 messages I haven't responded to, and I've got these Slack messages, and I've got to polish up this presentation, odds are those aren't the right answer. Because very rarely do you find the things that are going to advance your business in your email inbox or in your Slack inbox. You don't find things in the messages that are coming to you. The ideas that are going to move you forward are the ideas that you generate. What is it that you can do that stands out, that's different from what other people are doing? And if you have an hour in your day, what is it that you would do? So that's the first question. And then the second question is, are you willing to make an hour and do that? I was chatting with someone about this earlier, and she said, oh, I get it. You put in your priorities and then let the other stuff float around it a little bit. And that's exactly what you do. Most people say, well, if I had an extra hour a day, this would be easy. But the reality is it wouldn't be easy, because that hour in a day would get filled up like that with emails, tasks, responding to other people, all the stuff that doesn't differentiate you, that you just blend in when you're doing those kinds of things. Think instead about what it is that you would do that really moves the needle, that helps you to stand out, that moves the business forward, and then be willing to put that into your day. If it's not an hour a day, great. Start with 30 minutes, maybe 30 minutes a couple of times a week. If you can do an hour a day, 5 days a week, think about that. That's 5 hours of highly productive, high value add time that you can add to your week. Now, I get this sounds really simple, and somebody will be like, yeah, that's just kind of, a silly tool. But think about for a moment how much of your time you really spend on the things that you know are unique, that are going to drive you forward and create real success, versus the things that are just expected of you, that people will say, oh yeah, Rusty did a nice job on that, but that's what I expect of him. Think about that for a moment and just ask yourself, what would be different if you could shift a little bit more of your time to the value add? Well, that's the tip that I want to leave with you today. I plan to be back next week. I've got a good interview lined up with Guy Yalif, and Guy is a longtime friend of mine. We went to college together many years ago. He is currently the CEO of Intellimise. We're going to have a great conversation. So I'm looking forward to having Guy on. In the meantime, try this out. Reach out to me if you want some help implementing this. I'm happy to have a simple, free, no obligation, no cost conversation to help you put this into practice. And drop me a comment, follow me, and show up next week for a great conversation with Guy on how to get more done by doing less. Thanks for joining.